Have you ever wondered who first sailed across the big blue ocean and discovered America? Picture this: vast uncharted waters, a brave crew, and one courageous leader at the helm of a ship. This is not a tale from a storybook, but a real-life adventure. It's a story that takes us back over 500 years, to a time of exploration and discovery. So, who was this daring pioneer? Well, the story is about a brave explorer named Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus, born in Italy, had a big dream. This wasn't just any dream. It was a dream that would change the course of history. Columbus, from a young age, was fascinated by the sea. He was born in Genoa, a bustling port city in Italy, surrounded by sailors telling tales of far-off lands and mysterious oceans. As Columbus grew older, his fascination with the sea turned into a burning passion. He wanted to explore, to discover, to sail. But there was one destination that intrigued him more than any other: the Indies. These fabled lands of wealth and spices were said to lie far to the east. But Columbus had a different idea. He believed that by sailing west, he could reach the Indies faster and open a new route for trade. Many people thought Columbus was crazy. The idea of sailing west to reach the east was unheard of. But Columbus was not deterred. He was determined to prove his theory right. He spent years studying maps, reading books, and talking to other sailors. He was like a detective, piecing together clues to solve a great mystery. But dreams and determination alone were not enough. Columbus needed support, and he found it in an unlikely place: the royal court of Spain. The king and queen of Spain, intrigued by Columbus's proposal, agreed to fund his voyage. This was a big deal. It was like being given a golden ticket to pursue his dream. His dream was fueled by curiosity, by a desire to explore, to discover, to learn. But it was also fueled by courage, the courage to question, to challenge, to dare. Columbus was willing to risk everything for his dream. He was ready to face the unknown, to sail into uncharted waters, to venture into the great beyond. His dream was so strong that he convinced the king and queen of Spain to fund his journey. And so, with the royal blessing and the spirit of adventure in his heart, Christopher Columbus set sail on a journey that would change the world. In the year 1492, Columbus set sail on his first voyage. With a crew of about 90 men and 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina, they embarked on a journey into the unknown. Their goal was to find a new route to Asia, but the ocean had other plans. The journey was far from easy. Imagine being on a ship for more than 2 months, with no sight of land and limited supplies. The crew battled storms, faced the fear of the unknown, and even dealt with bouts of homesickness. But Columbus, with his steadfast determination, kept morale high and eyes on the horizon. Then, on October 12th, a sailor named Rodrigo de Triana spotted land. It was an island in the Bahamas, but Columbus believed they had reached Asia. They named it San Salvador, and with that, the New World was discovered. Columbus and his crew didn't waste any time. They explored the island, finding it rich with forests and filled with strange new creatures. But the most fascinating discovery of all was the native people, the Taino. They were friendly, curious, and generous, offering the Europeans gifts of fruit, birds, and other items. Columbus was fascinated by the Taino people and their way of life. He noted their hospitality, their agriculture, and even their gold ornaments, which sparked dreams of wealth and exploration in the minds of the Europeans. But Columbus and his crew weren't in Asia. They were in a whole new world, unknown to them, filled with its own cultures, people, and stories. After a few months of exploration, and with a cargo hold filled with exotic items and tales of adventure, Columbus decided it was time to return to Spain. And so, Columbus returned home, successful in his journey, but not in the way he had originally thought. He had not found a new route to Asia, but instead he had discovered a new world, opening the door to a new era of exploration and colonization. But Columbus didn't stop at just one voyage. Oh no, this daring explorer was far from done. After his first journey in 1492, Columbus embarked on 3 more voyages across the vast and unpredictable Atlantic Ocean. The second voyage, known as the Voyage of Discovery, began in 1493. This time, Columbus was not alone. He was accompanied by a whopping 17 ships and more than 1,000 men. Their mission? To establish permanent colonies in the New World. And did they succeed? You bet! Columbus and his men founded a colony named La Isabela on the island today known as the Dominican Republic. This was the first European colony in the Americas since the Vikings. Columbus's third voyage, starting in 1498, was filled with turbulent seas and political drama. Despite these challenges, Columbus pushed on. He discovered the island of Trinidad and even sailed along the coast of South America. It was during this voyage that Columbus realized he had discovered a whole new continent. The fourth and final voyage began in 1502. Columbus, now an old sea dog, was still eager to explore. This voyage was a tough one. Columbus and his crew faced shipwrecks, hostile natives, and even marooning on Jamaica for a whole year. Despite all these hardships, Columbus continued to explore, mapping parts of Central America before finally returning home. So what can we learn from these voyages? Well, Columbus was not just a sailor or an explorer. He was a man of determination and courage. He faced storms, shipwrecks, and even mutinies, but nothing could dampen his spirit of exploration. His voyages were not without controversy, but they opened the door to a new era of exploration and discovery. They changed the world as we know it, and for that, his name echoes through the corridors of history. Each voyage brought new challenges, but Columbus's spirit of exploration never waned. So what happened after Columbus's voyages, you might ask? Well, let me tell you, it was nothing short of world-changing. The voyages of Christopher Columbus marked the beginning of a new era. They kicked off a time when Europeans started exploring and settling in the Americas. This was a huge deal because, before Columbus, many Europeans didn't even know the Americas existed. It was like waking up one day and finding a whole new world right next door. With Columbus's voyages, Europe and the Americas became linked in a way they had never been before. This led to what we now call the Columbian Exchange. Now, this wasn't an exchange like swapping baseball cards. It was a massive swapping of people, animals, plants, and even diseases between the Old World, that's Europe, Asia, and Africa, and the New World, that's the Americas. This exchange had a significant impact on both sides of the Atlantic. In Europe, foods like tomatoes, potatoes, and corn were introduced, changing the way people ate. Can you imagine Italian food without tomatoes? Or Irish food without potatoes? Thanks to the Columbian Exchange, we don't have to. But it wasn't all good news. The arrival of Europeans brought with them diseases like smallpox, which had devastating effects on the Native American populations who had no immunity to these foreign illnesses. The voyages of Columbus also sparked a rush for European powers to claim lands and resources in the New World. This led to the colonization of the Americas, changing the lives of the people who lived there forever. So, Columbus's voyages did much more than just discover new lands. They connected two halves of the world, leading to a massive exchange of life and culture that shaped the world as we know it today. Columbus's voyages changed the world in ways he could never have imagined. And even now, hundreds of years later, we're still feeling the effects of his journeys. So, there you have it. The adventurous story of Christopher Columbus, an explorer, a dreamer, a sailor who dared to sail into the unknown and shaped our world as we know it today. Let's take a moment to recap our journey. It all started with a dream, didn't it? Columbus, a young sailor from Genoa, Italy, had a vision. He believed there was a different way to reach the East Indies, not by land, but by sailing westward. This dream led him to undertake 4 epic voyages. His first voyage in 1492 was a game changer. He reached the Bahamas in the Caribbean, thinking he'd arrived in the East Indies. He made 3 more voyages, exploring more islands and territories, always seeking a new route to Asia. And what was the impact of these voyages? Huge. Columbus's adventures marked the beginning of European exploration and colonization of the New World. His voyages led to the wide-scale exchange of plants, animals, cultures, ideas, and unfortunately, diseases between the Old World and the New World. This period is known as the Columbian Exchange, and it changed the world forever. Remember, every great adventure starts with a dream. Columbus's dream led him to discover a whole new world, and his legacy continues to inspire explorers today. Next time you look at a world map, remember the brave explorer who dared to sail into the unknown. As we navigate our way through the end of this journey, let's remember that every story we share is a voyage through history, a chance to explore the unknown, just like Columbus did. If you enjoyed this voyage through history, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us keep the ship sailing and continue bringing you more exciting adventures. And hey, why not share it with your friends and family? You never know who might be inspired by Columbus's story. Perhaps the next great explorer is among us, waiting to be inspired. Maybe it's you. Remember, every great adventure starts with a dream. So dream big, and who knows where your journey will take you. In the comments below, tell us about your dream adventure. Where would you explore if you had the chance? We can't wait to hear about your dream voyages. Until our next adventure, keep exploring.